Welcome to the Something Better podcast. I'm Joe Conroy, the Public Information Officer for the city, and your host of the podcast. We're here going to be talking a little bit about a topic that a lot of people have been talking about since really, I guess, about last year. And we have a familiar guest here back, Evette Roldan from Wastewater. And what was your title again?
Assistant Water Director.
Assistant Water Director, and you're over wastewater, right?
Correct, yes.
Yeah. So you were here a few months ago, I guess, now at this point, and we just kind of talked some general wastewater things and water department stuff. But before we jump into the big topic with the wastewater, give us a little reminder, who are you, what's your background, where did you come from, that sort of stuff?
Sure. Well, thank you so much for having me back and just helping continuing the conversation. This is critical for all City of Bakersfield. Evette Roldan, Assistant Water Director. My background in wastewater, I've been with the city since October of 2013, so it's been a minute.
Yeah.
12 and a half years going. I've been in wastewater, for about 15 plus years. Specifically, previously I was down with private contractor helping LA County down there. But with the city for about 12 and a half years, all my experience has been in wastewater, overseeing the two wastewater treatment plants, seeing the sewer enterprise fund. Not for my 12 years. I've been in this particular position for about a year and a half.
Okay.
But definitely involved with wastewater, starting from engineer 1, 2, 3, superintendent. So I've definitely done the rounds within the division.
And you're an engineer?
Correct, yeah. So I'm a licensed civil engineer and as well as a certified wastewater grade 5 operator. So that is the highest within certification level in California. So it definitely helps when you're trying to operate treatment plants.
Yeah, you see, you have a lot of background on this. You have a lot of education on this topic,
yes.
And again, you've been here for a while, just with the city alone.
Yes.
And just you know what you're doing.
Yes.
You've
I've
been
in
around
the
this.
trenches.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I've been in the trenches, climbed back
Maybe
up,
even
got
literally,
back in.
right?
Literally, yeah, definitely pumping scum from time to time. Yes.
Sounds fun.
Yeah, it's fun. It
you have to have a certain mentality, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so great. So, again, you're back, and we're talking about wastewater stuff. And the big topic, probably for about the last year, has been the proposed sewer rates,
yes.
Because the city has been talking about increasing those. And what's the reason behind that proposed increase?
So the main reason is that all things sewer, so everything having to do with the collection system and the treatment plants, they are only funded by sewer rates. So we do not get any funding from general fund or any other avenues. So we really need to be able to generate the revenue that will then support the operation. So that's why it's so critical. That's why we've been going to council and saying we need additional revenue. We need to be able to generate additional revenue to truly cover the cost of what it takes to operate and maintain the system. Right. We have had reserves in the past, and we have slowly been chipping away at those reserves. So it's getting to a point where we really need to do something drastic in order to kind of stop this downward hill that we're on.
Yeah, and those reserves have chipped away because costs have increased, yes. And our system itself has grown.
Absolutely. One of the major factors, I guess there were kind of two, back in 2014, prior to that, city really didn't have to pay prevailing wages for outside work. Since then, we have had to do the prevailing wage. But honestly, COVID, I think, was the single most impactful factor. We saw equipment costs double. We saw chemical costs go up 50 to 60% year over year. So those costs have been significant. They really didn't allow for adjustment because it happened so quickly. So those have been critical cost increases, as well as everything else. Electricity has also gone up quite a bit. And then because the city has grown, just the overall amount of wastewater that we're treating has increased in the last couple of years. So if everything had remained the same, just by the fact that we're treating more wastewater day in and day out, that alone also increases our costs.
And wastewater is anything that leaves your house or your business through
Correct.
the sewer system, basically,
yes.
right?
Yeah, anything that makes its way into the drain is considered wastewater and gets, ends up at one of our treatment plants.
It's one of those things that you don't think about,
Correct.
As long as it's working.
Absolutely.
And then as soon as it's not, it's all you can think about.
Exactly, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then one of those other big costs too is we have an aging system,
Yes.
so we need to do some maintenance and improvements. And and one of the big ones is either a new sewer plant or a major renovation of an existing one, correct?
Correct, yes. Plant 2, initially built 1939. It has had some additional work. It has had significant upgrades throughout the year, 1950, 1970s. 1997 was the last time it really got sort of a facelift. But even then, we're about 30 years out from that.
Yeah.
A lot of the life cycles of the equipment is in the 20-year range, so we have exceeded that expectancy. Some of the structures, our administration building does date back to 1939, so there's definitely some concerns there.
That's almost 100 years old when you really think about it. I mean, we're in 2026, so we're coming up on it in the next 15 years or so.
Exactly.
And you mentioned the rates, why you can't use general fund or PSVS and that sort of thing, and that's because the service has to be paid for by the users, right?
Yes. So in California, we have Proposition 218, which basically sets the process by which we can evaluate costs and set rates, and it really forces our hand in that whatever a ratepayer pays is directly the cost of the service that they are receiving. So you can subsidize your neighbor can subsidize you. What you are paying is truly reflective of what it costs the city to provide you your service.
Right. And we're not collecting anything for extra or taking that funding and spending it on a road or a building or something. Right.
No, we cannot.
Right. Legally, we can't do that, and that's why that fee, all that money that comes from that fee that's collected from there goes back into the system.
Yes, it's fully isolated. Our finance department does an excellent job. All of those funds are isolated, and they're accounted for and tracked separately from general fund.
And that means when you guys, and we'll get to 218 here too in a second, but that's why when you guys are recommending an increase, you guys have done a bunch of research on what is it costing us right now and what's it going to cost us in the future, because you need to start planning ahead to collect that money.
Exactly, yeah. We've done a 10-year financial plan. We've done a 15-year financial plan, and we've really, once we had everything on paper of what is it going to take for the next 15 years to operate and maintain, we kind of then started, okay, based on our operational costs, this is how much revenue we need to bring in order to be able to cover all of the costs that we have projected out. Yeah.
And then, so we teased it a little bit there, the Prop 218 you mentioned. You guys were at the city council meeting a couple weeks ago.
Yes.
What happened there? What's that step, and what did that look like? And then kind of where do we go from here?
So what happened on, February 11th at the council meeting, city requested authorization to mail out a Prop 218 notice, and council granted that authorization. So where we are right now in the process is we basically have authorization to notice the public. So we are finalizing the Prop 218 notice on our end. It's going to give the resident information as to what their rate will be July 1st. We are proposing a 5-year rate increase, so it'll show the proposed rate for July 1st, 2026, 27, 28, 29, 2030, so that each resident will know exactly what the cost is going to be every year for the next 5 years. It's going to give them a little information about what that rate is going to cover. So what percentage is going to administration costs, emergency costs, capital improvement cost, and just regular operation and maintenance costs. So it gives them a brief breakdown of where does my money go. And it also will give them information as to how to protest if they are objecting, if they are not in agreement with that rate. And it also gives them information about our next council meeting, April 22nd, and website as to where they can go and find the full engineering report that gives a full breakdown of exactly what project is being funded by these rates, what the estimated cost for operation and maintenance, staffing, personnel. It really gives them a breakdown of everything that we have included in the cost.
Yeah. And those notices will go out to anybody that would be impacted by this increase,
correct.
right?
Yeah.
And it's not everybody that lives in the city, right? It's not even the whole city's residents. It's about how many people or how many properties, I guess?
Properties, we've identified 106,500, I believe. And it is basically every property within the city boundary that is hooked up to the city sewer. So yes, we definitely have some properties that still have septic systems for whatever reason. We have some properties, mainly that. We also have some properties within the county border. We deal directly with the county, so they would be receiving information from the county, but they would also be affected by way of county, not directly from us.
Okay. So when should people start expecting to see these notices show up, and how would they get them?
So our final day to have these notices in the mailbox is March 6th. So they could potentially get them a few days prior to March 6th, sending out 106,000 plus parcels. We're partnering with the print shop here in town, so they might start sending some as early as the Monday, Wednesday prior to, but the last one will be in the post office March 6th, that's a Friday. So residents might potentially start seeing them Saturday, March 7th, or that Monday.
Okay.
So that's when they'll start seeing it, and that's when it really opens up that 45-day review period where residents can either let us know that they're on opposition, or they could potentially, say that we are in agreement with this. So they would need to follow the instructions. If they are in opposition, they need to provide a written notice with parcel information, information about the property owner, a wet signature from the property owner, parcel number, your ATN, and let us know if they are in support or opposition of it, and get it to the city clerk's office before the conclusion of the public hearing.
Gotcha.
So the public hearing is that April 22nd.
Right.
We are scheduled for the 5:15 council meeting. So prior to concluding that public hearing, their support or objection would need to be in our hands.
And that's all laid out on that Prop 218 notice,
Exactly.
right? How to do that if you want to do it either in person or in writing.
Yes.
And you have to have all that information, and that's all listed on there. Like have these items, or it may not be counted.
Exactly. Yeah, and all of that information will also then be posted on our website as well.
Excellent. And so you said around 106,000 or so plus. Some other ones, some county ones as well. And what's the threshold for whether this goes through, even just to get to the council? Because the council is going to consider it, but not if there's a threshold that gets met.
So within the Prop 218 process, if 50% plus one objects in writing ahead of the public hearing, that essentially is a veto of the proposition.
Okay.
If it's absent that 50% plus one, then it goes to a council vote. So we would need, upwards of 53,000 written protests.
Okay. And if that happened, we'd have to go back kind of to square one, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
We'd have to figure out what we're going to do next then.
Yes.
Some other, because that money still needs to be collected at some point.
Yes.
Some money needs to be collected at some point, and it would be up to whatever we could get people to say okay to, more or less, right?
So the first year we're proposing 475, an annual increase of 100 for the next 5 years. So, if the public rejects that proposition of 475, 575, 675, it would force our hand to go back to square one and really see what alternatives we have. We could potentially delay some of the projects, delay some of the work that's been identified. So we would have to pivot and make some changes.
And then we'll jump ahead to the April 22nd meeting. That'll be the public hearing. Let's say that we don't have the threshold met in written protests. We go to the council meeting. The council votes on this. Let's say they pass it.
Yes.
When does that go into effect then?
If they pass it, then the proposed rates would be effective July 1st of 2026.
Okay.
So residents would start seeing that change in their tax roll. Most people get it around September, so that's when they will see their new rate. The same thing with commercial businesses. It would also affect commercial businesses. So they would actually start seeing it with their August billing, because it would be effective July 1st. So their September 1st bill, their August 1st bill would reflect all of July consumption. So commercial users would start seeing it more sooner than the residents. Yes.
So then, let's say it passes and it goes through. And we have it's a $100. It goes up to $475 this year, and then it's $100 per year each year. When we get to 2030, what happens then?
So prior to, 2030, so July 1st, 2030, we would have that last adopted increase.
I guess maybe then after that.
But come springtime of 2031, we would have to go back to council and either propose, we would have to give them an update. So the update could potentially say, we are good at 875, or which would at that point be the active rate, or we would let them know we will need additional rates to increase. So we would have a report saying one way or the other that spring of 2031.
Right.
And if it were to show that we need an additional increase, we would be following this Prop 218 process again. So we would come up with the new rate for proposal, and then it would be up to council once again to either adopt or reject.
Yeah, because the 218 allows you to do for 5 years, correct?
5 years at most.
Yeah.
Yes.
And but the reason I was asking too about after 2030, I've had people ask me, well, does the rate go back then, like after that? Like, and it doesn't. It's going to stay at that number unless council decides to change the rate.
Yeah.
Correct.
So it would stay at the 875 until further council action.
Right.
And it would have to be based on updated reports and cost estimates for operation and maintenance and capital improvement projects. So it would be reevaluated thoroughly at that time.
Okay. Have I missed anything, Yvette? Is there anything I didn't get to?
No, I think we covered most of it. Like I said, the next major thing is, when residents start seeing their Prop 218 notice, to go through it, read. If they have any questions, reach out to us. Our email and contact information will be on the notice. Encourage them to go on to our city website. There's quite a bit of information, not just on Prop 218 process, but all of our infrastructure, wastewater collection system, wastewater in general, just kind of what we do. And then the April 22nd meeting, I think those are the major milestones.
Awesome. So if you're listening and and it's before March, get ready in the first week or second week of March. Keep an eye out in your mail, or is it in your bill?
No, it's in the mail.
In the
so
mail?
It'll have it'll be
like a postcard?
It's going to be more than that. It's going to be on a 11 by 17 kind of folded. So it's going to be the size of 8.5 by 5.5. So it'll be a nice little pamphlet that they're going to be receiving in the mail first, like I said, March 6th through March 9th in that time window.
And one other thing I wanted to touch on too before we go, over the last year since we started talking about this, you guys have done a lot of outreach too. Like you guys have held community meetings and had people go or come. I guess media's come over to the facility and looked at the facilities. You guys have talked to them. You did a lot of meetings with the community as well, and explained what's going on and why you're doing it.
We've done a number of community outreaches to the public. We hit all the different wards, first to describe just sort of understanding our sewer system, and then to follow up with these are the rates that council has been given for consideration. And then we also did a lot of outreach to some of our local clubs, American Society of Civil Engineers, Rotary. We did a few chapters for Rotary. So we have definitely been we've made ourselves available to anyone that kind of reached out and said, hey, can you come speak to us? And we were there. We spoke and engaged the community.
You guys have been busy, yeah.
We have.
Full calendar.
Absolutely.
Well, Yvette, thank you again for coming back and talking to us about this topic and why it's so important and everything. So we appreciate you having
for having me.
Having you back.
Yeah.
Thank you. Again, my name's Joe Conroy. I'm the host of the Something Better podcast. If you haven't already, like and subscribe so you don't miss any episodes. And we hope you'll keep listening. So thank you very much.